Here's a really interesting article from the Daily Mail. Now, I really want to put a focus on this because they don't really push this enough in their long article. And that's that the person in this video that they're quoting is never identified. And I don't believe they show any proof that they were actually a jury member in the JD and AH trial. So all of this should be taken with a grain of salt. But news outlets are picking it up and talking about it, so I'm going to cover it. But I want you to know that this all could be BS. And normally, I probably wouldn't cover this, but on the chance that this is true, there's some really interesting stuff to talk about in here. But I want you to know there is a chance this could all be a joke. But 2 news outlets have picked this up. So, let's talk about it. Because if it is true, this is really interesting stuff. So the premise here is that a man claiming to be a juror in the JD and AH trial comes forward and he talks about a lot of stuff. It's a big Tik Tok video and it's all anonymous. He answers questions from people in the comments and gives his insight into what happened. And if this is real, this is some pretty good stuff. We find out why they awarded AH money and why they believe JD over her. And what was going on in that jury room is something that I am really interested in knowing. I can't wait for one of them to write a book. I'm sure they'll all end up doing, well, at least a couple of them that are smart will write some books or do something and try to make some shekels from this. Someone's going to put a book out. Mark my words. But for now, this is what we have. And maybe it's true. Maybe it's not. So a man claiming to be one of the 5 men and 2 women who made up the jury in the AH and JD trial has shared behind-the-scenes detail from the case. The man, whose identity cannot be proven, said the jurors felt Heard was unreliable, describing her as someone who gaslit and manipulated others. He said they were united in feeling that Depp was more credible, but they did believe he was guilty of some bad things, although not the instigator. He explained why they awarded Depp $15 million and Heard $2 million, saying it was due to accountability, and the initial sums they sought were unrealistic. The man said that Heard's credibility was scotched for him when it emerged that she had not paid $3.5 million to the ACL that she claimed to have done. Now, that's the big piece of this that I find really interesting, if true. So what's the thing that broke the camel's back with AH, as you would say? What made them turn on her and not believe her? And as you would say, if you're willing to lie about this, who says you're not lying about that? And it was the ACLU thing, which is true. If you're willing to lie about that, what else? And I think it's funny that if this is true, that's what got him. They got it right here. So an alleged juror began his TikTok video by saying that he wanted to remain anonymous. The names of jurors have been sealed for a year following the trial, but jury members are allowed to come forward voluntarily, and we know that. He then proceeds to explain the jury deliberations, describing Heard as a poor witness and saying that they found Depp more credible. What would you say was the moment that you were like, nope, if she's lying about this, says she's lying about everything else, asked one TikTok user. He replied, I would say the donation pledged to charity. Heard had promised to donate half of her $7 million divorce settlement from Depp to the ACLU. We know that. When pressed about the lie, Heard claimed that she used the word donated and pledged synonymously, a comment that was met with incredulity from Depp's lawyers and according to the jury. The jury. So that's what they're saying there. The TikTok user heaped praise on Depp's lawyer, Camille, saying she did a great job and was critical of Heard's sister, Whitney, who testified for her. She seemed to be supporting her sister out of obligation and manipulation to me, the supposed juror said. Didn't seem like she wanted to be there. And there's some truth to that. This also makes me wonder, if this is real. Because there's a lot of reports out there that AH and her sister have never been on the best terms, and that she kind of used her sister as a punching bag. Literally and figuratively. Because I did a video on this a long time ago. There was some kind of reality TV show or something, and they recorded her, and she had some bruises, and people in the cast were like, was your sister hitting you again? So those reports of her getting kicked out, basically her sister just wants to be part of this rock star life or something. Tug, I'm sure, has broken this down quite elegantly in some of his videos, but that relationship isn't that good. And I think she's just trying to get back into her sister's good graces or something. So remember, take this all with a grain of salt. The jurors in Fairfax, Virginia, spent 6 weeks listening to the evidence and then 12 hours weighing it up before reaching their verdict on Wednesday. So today was my last day of being a juror on the AH and JD trial. The juror begun in his first TikTok clip. And I wish to remain anonymous, but I thought I would give some insight about my thoughts on the trial. He said he was not especially informed about either one of them, Depp or Heard. I don't follow pop culture too much, so I haven't really been a fan of JD or AH, so I feel like I can be pretty unbiased about the whole thing, he said. But from the very beginning, when AH was testifying, everything just seemed so off with how she kept making eye contact with me, and it made me extremely uncomfortable, to the extent where I could no longer look over at her when she was giving her answers. I would just listen intently, and everything she was saying came off like BS. And that's true. They were looking. She was looking at them every time she talked. So anytime she was asked a question, she would look at them and talk, and it was kind of weird. JD barely looked at him when he talked. He looked at the person he was talking to, and I think that was a better move. It is kind of strange. Apparently, a lot of people were talking about that, I guess, on TikTok. I'm not sure. I don't get on TikTok, so I don't know. He said, I would just listen intently, and everything that she was saying came off like BS. He said that after the trial ended, he scrolled through TikTok, and it blows my mind how every single person seemed to be commenting on how weird her eye contact was. In a second video, he was asked about how he felt about Heard's lawyer, Elaine, basically accusing all you jurors of not following the rules. The juror replied, I'm trying to view this from a place of empathy and understanding. I'm not sure if you guys noticed how much AH was gaslighting Johnny Depp. She could have never admit she was wrong. You can even tell how she spoke to him in the recordings. She admitted to him she didn't do anything, and she carried that on to the trial. And I feel we as humans naturally take our personal truths to the grave when we can't admit that we were wrong. So I feel that is what her team is doing now, doing a smear campaign to not admit that they were guilty, because if they were to just cower down and accept the verdict in a way to the public eye, it can be seen as an admission of guilt. So there's another one. One TikTok user asked if he was informed by personal experience. Says, yes, she reminded me how my ex used to gaslight. He said, I trusted my gut. And then here's the question that I think a lot of people might have, and that's on the damages. Why was Heard given $2 million? So AH was awarded $2 million in the case for a couple of different reasons, the juror explained. If you remember, she was also suing JD in this trial for defamation due to the statements made by Johnny's lawyers, who were stating that Amber roughed up the apartment to make it look way worse for police. Unfortunately, the fact of her doing that or not doing that could not be proven. But it could prove that it did defame her in ways due to those statements made by Johnny's lawyers. He further explained why they wanted to issue awards to both rather than just doing the calculations and making one award. So you might be wondering, why not just give Johnny 13 instead of 13 and giving Amber Heard 2? Well, it comes down to accountability and holding both parties accountable for what was done wrong. Asked why they did not award Depp the full 50, he replied that's it's an unrealistic amount, and that many jurors wanted to award $50 million. Sometimes in life we have to compromise. It's a compromise, basically. Asked whether or not they believed her, he replied, wouldn't say we believed her, but saw it as that they were both guilty of defaming each other. But at the end of the day, almost everyone felt Depp was more credible. Asked if they all felt the same way, he replied, most everyone, yes. It wasn't completely unanimous at the beginning of the deliberation, but all did agree she was more guilty than Johnny. So really interesting. And like I said, there's no way to know if this is real or not, but the answers are pretty thoughtful. This all could be someone looking for attention, but I guess it's an anonymous TikTok account, and I don't know. The reason I'm covering it is because multiple news sites are, and I think it's worth to talk about. It's worthy to talk about because what if this is true? Where else can we hear this? And I know a lot of people want to know what's going on there. So on the slim chance this might be true, this is fascinating. Fascinating stuff. And it does answer some questions. So like I said, take it with a grain of salt. If it's updated and turns out the BS, I'll let you know in an update. Other than that, let me know, what do you guys think about this? Do you think this is real? Do you think this is BS? If it's real, what do you think about it? What are your thoughts? Also, if you would please like, subscribe, share the video. Make sure you're still subscribed. Hit that notification bell. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace. Also, if you want to help support the channel, check out my Teespring store. There's a link in the description. You can find some merchandise in there that you might want to check out. Also, make sure to follow me over on Twitch. I do watch parties, play video games over there. They're always fun. Follow me over there and come hang out. Also, make sure you subscribe to YellowFlash, my other channel. There's a link to that in the description as well. I do a lot of live streams over there that I don't do on this channel. Usually smaller and a little bit more personal. So make sure you follow me over there and sign up.